Matrix Reloaded really makes me mad, bro. And it's not even the movie. It's the attention that this movie does not get. Matrix Reloaded, bro, if you had to have been there. 2003. Yeah, 2003. Oh, bro, what a moment to be alive, bro. Like, I was 2003, so I was 12 going on to 13 at the time. You talk about a movie that everybody was talking about. And when I say everybody, that's exactly what I meant. At that time, I lived in 8 Mile, Detroit. And everybody from kids at school, my grade, younger, to adults was talking about this movie. It was, the first trailer came out, I think it was like a year before the movie was even released. And I never forget when the first trailer of Matrix Reloaded came out. And it actually was a teaser trailer to Reloaded and Revolutions. But my dad was a teacher. My mom and dad were school teachers at the time. And the school they was teaching at, we was homeschooled, so we had to do some of the school at home and then at the school they worked in. I remember we was doing work at the school my dad was working in. And during a lunch break, we was eating lunch in his classroom, my brother and I. And as we was eating lunch, and then I'm just scrolling through the internet at the time, AOL, all those that era. I never forget, it was posted on there, Matrix 2. It didn't say the name yet. It said Matrix 2 trailer. And I said, hey, Dad, Matrix got a new movie out. My dad, when I tell you that turnaround, and I'll never forget that look. It was, let's see if I can act it out. I was looking at his side. That's where my table was. It was literally like, hey, Dad, there's a Matrix 2 coming out. Excuse me? And I said, Matrix 2's coming out. He stood up and moved over there to see, because my dad loves the Matrix. Loves the first one. He never expected another one to come out. And me as a kid, it didn't cross my mind. We saw, that was actually the only, that and Gladiator were the two only rated R movies my brother and I was actually able to watch as kids. We wasn't really allowed to watch rated R movies. Those were the only two that he made an exception. But he came in, what are you doing? I said, what? Click the trailer. So I clicked the trailer, and bro, the opening to the trailer, we see all the green writings come down. And then I never forget, to this day, I still remember that trailer. It was Morpheus talking. It showed like a little clip. And Dad, I'll never forget, it showed like a little action clip. Dad's like, and then you hear Morpheus, it is our fate to be here. Dun-dun. It is our destiny. Dun-dun-dun. I believe this night holds for each and every one of us the very meaning of our lives. My dad went crazy for that little scene alone. It's on YouTube. Look it up on YouTube. The first Matrix Reloaded trailer. And then it shows Neo does like this backflip from the first floor to the top floor. And you heard Murphy saying, this is a war and we are soldiers. My dad went crazy. He was joking around the school. He was like, oh, you gotta be kidding, because he didn't believe it. And you just see Neo just float in the air and then go like this. And then it was showing that whole trailer. Oh, bro. And at the end of the trailer, it had one of the most, to this day, in my opinion, one of the most iconic scenes in Matrix history. It showed a perfect shot of, in slow motion, Neo flipped to this rail, this one guy running on the wall, this other guy jumping in slow motion. With the Matrix music, my dad went crazy. He was like, oh my goodness. Oh, dude, like that. Now, that was just the trailer, the opening to us knowing there was a Matrix 2 movie coming out. Then it was another one. I can go about this whole trailer excitement for a while, but I'm going to cut it short. But just so you know, that was piece of the hype. And so my dad, he had to work the second half, obviously, of the school after lunch was over. And that's what he was thinking about the whole time. I'd never forget, because every time, like, when there was, when school was out, after, like, the kids went back and school was out, he's like, can I see that trailer again? So I'll show up again. And then he had to go with, I forgot, did something. And he came back. Can I see that trailer again? So there was a lot of hype just from that trailer alone. We're going to fast forward to when the movies come out. Now, that was a year before the movie ever came out. My dad had that written down. There was certain movies my dad had written down. And me, I was hype as well. But I'm talking about the hypest one was my father. And There was only a few movies that ever did that to him. That, the first Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire, the first X-Men movie, and the first Iron Man, because my dad's favorite superhero is Iron Man. He loved how Disney made Iron Man popular because he thought that Iron Man needed more attention. And the Avengers. Those are the only movies I see them go crazy over. But then the movie comes out, and we saw that movie, bro. You talk about all of our hearts was pumping. My mom, she likes a good action movie. You send her into a good action movie, she's gonna watch it. She didn't care. Her excitement wasn't the same as my dad, my brother, and I. But bro, from the opening, when Trinity breaks out of the glass and slowly, no, before that, when she rides the motorcycle, flips off the motorcycle, and that motorcycle crashed to the building, she just lands. So my dad was in the theater like this. He was all hyped. My mom was like, boo, calm down. He's like, this is real. This is actually real. And she was like, yes, this is real. He couldn't believe it. And then Trinity's crazy fight scene was amazing. Then when she jumps out of the window in slow motion, turns around, bam, 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 with the shooting at the agent. That opening was iconic. But this could be a long video, so I'm going to try to shorten this up. Matrix Reloaded had our hearts pumping. Not just me, but everybody in the neighborhood. Like when we saw this movie, the next day in school, everybody was talking about it. The next day, kids, adults, everybody. It had to go for at least 3 weeks. 3 weeks, I'll never forget, we had a theater called the Star Theater. I always wonder where the Star Theater went. But we had the Star everybody, you talking about theaters was sold out for 2 to 3 weeks. That's what movie, back in those days, going to movie theaters was peak. I wish it was like that now. But that movie was iconic, and not just because of what I'm explaining about the city and how we always excited, but what the movie did to make us excited for us to talk about that movie for so long. The action in that scene, in that movie, was something I've never seen, ever. And I'm thinking about now, the way, the action and how it was set up, how you had Neo, Morpheus, and Trinity, all of them got their respect. Yes, it was a movie showcasing how the One is, which is Keanu Reeves' character, the One, Neo, but it also gave a lot of respect to Morpheus, to Trinity. Heck, the agents was scary. The Smiths, which I want to talk about in a minute, Agent Smiths and all of them. The movie, not even them, but the scene with Neo versus Seraph, the choreography top tier with the music, the angles, everything. Has one of the most iconic fights, the fight that we all at that time was waiting for, which was Neo versus Agent Smith, which turned out to be all these Agent Smiths. And I gotta give some respect to that scene. That scene should be in the Hall of Fame of sci-fi or action fight scenes. It should be up there in the Mount Rushmore. It does not get the respect it deserves. People talking about the CGI was bad. The CGI was not that bad, especially in that time. In that time, the CGI, maybe people are spoiled now with how CGI is, but in that time in 2003, that was top tier. Choreography, when you actually know the backstory about it, to see how much work Keanu Reeves put into that scene, and that's the one thing. Keanu Reeves is not the greatest actor. He's good. But one thing about him is that he is dedicated. He will always have my respect as an actor because he puts, before John Wick, it's crazy to think Matrix was almost 20 years older than John Wick. That's crazy. But the time Keanu Reeves put into choreography for him to do it himself, like how he did with John Wick, is something that he needs to get an iconic award or something, because he will always have my respect. As much work, that's a lot of work to that whole scene. And it was fleshed out. It was one. Here's another thing too. Their fight scenes was never shaky cam. You know how they try to shake it so you don't see too much, and that way you think it makes it look like a lot is happening when it's actually not. Matrix kept the cameras there. It wanted you to see every little move, every flip, every flying, all that stuff. No matter how big and how congested it looked. That scene is, yes, on the Mount Rushmore of greatest fight scenes. But before that, the opening when the three agents came in is him, the anomaly. Shall we proceed? Yes, he is still only human. Bro, and then it opened the door to show you what the One is, because that's one thing that a lot of us was excited to see was, what can the one actually do? We had a little glimpse of it in the first one when Neo, like how he was just dodging Smith and then goes through his body, explode and all that stuff. Then we saw like a tiny scene at the end where he looks up and flies in the end. We never really saw the full scale. Matrix Reloaded gave you the full scale. And we're like, when he went boom and flew and you just see him just, and I love I forgot what the caller's name was, but he was like, Morpheus like, where's Neo now? He's doing this Superman thing, and then you just see the flying, and you just see a Neo, boom, and just fly down. That was sick. Now, does the CGI, at that time, the CGI looked really good. Of course, now, that was almost 20-something years, over 20-something years ago. I wish people would give that movie a break with the CGI. It was not that bad. I still watch it now and enjoy it. But yeah, like that scene, it was an opening to show you what the one can actually do. And I believe the Wachowski brothers did a great job at showcasing what Neo was. Was he overpowered? Yes. But here's the thing. That's another thing I realized I saw on TikTok. Somebody was complaining that, oh, Neo was overpowered. That's how we wanted him to be. When you see, like, when you hear in the first one about how the one was supposed to save people and be this all-powerful being, we don't want to see him in the second one just get knocked down all the time. We want him to be overpowered. We want to see, okay, ain't many people can stop him. You saw how much it took in Matrix Revolution for him to get, that's what we wanted, but Reloaded made him overpowered, and it worked. It made sense. That scene he had in the Merovingian scene, which I love that fight scene, where they was all shooting bullets at him. But how he just stopped all that scene was glorious. But just the fact he can do that and win, no blood, no sweat, no broken, nothing. That's what we wanted. And bro, that hype where your heart's pumping when Neo turns around, you see Agent Smith walking up slowly to him. My dad was like, and he hear the iconic line, Mr. Anderson, bro. It's like, surprised to see me? And he was like, no, I put the glasses on. Bro, and we was trying to figure out how this Mr. Smith first came back to how did all this come out with all these different multiples of him. That whole scene, and you trying to figure out how is Neo getting out of this. And I forgot. I remember my dad he didn't yell it out. He was like, just fly out. And it did. I was like, oh yeah, he can't just fly. Then he actually did that and got out of there. And I got to give credit to Morpheus and Trinity. They had some sick fight scenes too. That against the twins, when Morpheus, and we was like, yes, here we go, Morpheus, let's do it. And he was like swinging the sword. I wish that fight was a little longer. That was a little cut short, but it turned into one of the best freeway action scenes ever. Morpheus and Trinity versus the twins on the freeway, and then lo and behold, as they're being chased by the twins and the twins are shooting their car down, Morpheus looks to the right. Guess who's there as well as the agents? And the agents were scary in this one. The way they just looking, like they had their eyes on the prize. They was on another car, one stepping up over the car, looking at Morpheus. Jumps on a car to jump on them. Where the twins was like, in a way, was helping Morpheus. They're trying to shoot the agents out of there too, and they're just dodging it, bro. And then the agent fighting Morpheus. I never forget everybody in the theater. Like, I'm not a fan of packed theaters, but I understood for this movie. And as a kid, you don't really think about it. Like me now, I'd rather go when there's not many people. But that moment, everything was packed. And everybody was clapping when you saw the agent drop on the truck and Morpheus looked. And he told the other guy he was pretending to get down. You saw Morpheus walking to the agent. Everybody was like, let's get it, Morpheus. And that had to be that was a cool fight scene too. Morpheus was holding his own. So I like that scene. And to have Neo call and say, where's Morpheus at? And they tell him where he was at, and he flies up to them, and you see the agent is about to kill Morpheus because one's on one truck and one's on another truck. Morpheus is on one of the trucks. They was going to crash the trucks and have the trucks explode on them. And you see Morpheus look at it and says, Neo, if you're out there, I can sure use some help. And then you hear the caller, he's like hearing this noise. He's like, what is that? And you just see Neo just fly through the city in fast motion. Then you see Morpheus jump while the cars explode, and all of it was in slow motion. It is exploding, and the fire's about to engulf them. Then you just see Neo come out of nowhere and yank them up. Bro, everybody in the theater went crazy. Like with the funny part was the guy in the movie. It was our reaction when Neo grabbed him and flew. The caller was like, "Yes, yes," and that's how all of us was laughing. We was cheering too because we was like, "Where is Neo? He needs to get him. Oh, he's about to die." And bro, oh man, dude, all the way to this movie was full. Yes, Revolutions had. Well, before I get to Revolutions, then at like the end, like near the end. I'm not gonna spoil like what happens but like the storyline much. But when you see Trinity does something at the end, which had my heart pumping, when she turned on that elevator, looks up, and like I said, the agents were scary here. They were scary in the first one. I believe outside of I believe they were scarier in the second one because they had more screen time and more scenes where they actually could succeed in killing people and destroying everybody. Like this Trinity scene when she looked up and saw the agent there, and you realize she's alone. She's in this room. It's just her and this agent, and she was fighting back. Like, give her credit, but you could tell she was losing. And it was like, bro, and dude, when Neo found out what was going on with Trinity, and he flew out of this building, and you see the building turn on fire, and he just showed how fast he is to try to save her. He had a moment when he went like this, and was flying fast. And the caller was like, what is that? I don't know, whatever. That's the fastest thing I ever seen. And you see Neo just flying as fast as he can to get the Trinity. Your heart's pumping because you're like, okay, he saved Morpheus. Is he going to save Trinity? Is he going to have time? And bro, like that scene had your heart. But Trinity was holding her own the best she could, bro. And that was that scene when she jumps out of the building and just started, dude. That whole, oh man, dude. While at the same time before that, you see Neo. I'm sweating because I'm all hot. I got to open the window. But they enter this room and Mr. Smith shows up again. And now you got Neo and Morpheus versus all the Smiths, which was a cool scene. It was cool to see Neo and Morpheus team up. You know, it was so much to that movie with an awesome cliffhanger at the end to open up for Revolutions. Bro, oh my goodness. I was reliving that. When I saw some stuff today, Reloaded, I was reliving those moments. Everybody, when I got out the theater, that movie and The Avengers were the only two movies where I left the theater and people are loud in the hallway talking about it. Reloaded, it was other movies that people was excited for, but I've never had an experience where I left a theater and people outside was still going crazy over it. Oh, Revenge of the Sith, Star Wars, Revenge of the Sith, that as well. But yeah, Reloaded, bro, that was something special. Like for my dad, for myself, I will say, it did have one of the worst things I've seen in movies too, which I still don't understand whose idea was it to have this in there. But there was a scene, and mind you, I'm 12. Mind you, there was a lot of kids seeing this movie, right? Granted, the movie did say rated R. What's the first Matrix did? What the movie, the Matrix, the first one, never had this in it. So a lot of us didn't expect this certain thing to happen in the second one. And this is before we actually paid attention to what it is rated for. Matrix had this long, unnecessary sex scene. It was, bro, I never forget, like in theaters, it was some kid, you hear parents, honey, close your eyes. My dad was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like it was a scene where Neo and Trinity was having this intensity on top of this sexual dance that was happening. It was showing two scenes at once and it was going for a while. Like, I remember as a kid just having my eyes closed for a long time. You hear my mom like, boo, what kind of movie you brought us to? And my dad was like, I had no idea this was in here. Because if you see the first one, you wouldn't think this was be in it. So, and it is on my list as one of those unnecessary moments in movies. They did not have to have this. And then for that long. I understand the reason, but the reason wasn't enough to have. It was like one of them unnecessary moments. And that was one thing my dad was so bad about. Like he's a teacher, like I said, and like I said, Matrix was talked about for weeks, even in my school, even in the school he taught at. He had, this is how bad it was. He had to, when we went to the school the next day, you hear kids talking about, I'm about to see Matrix tonight. My dad, every time he saw kids that was about to see it, like in his class or in the school, y'all, tell your parents to close your eyes. a little early in the movie, there is a crazy sex. And the kid's like, oh, I gotta tell my dad. Oh, and so that was one of the things. Not just us, but a lot of people was like, dang, they did not have to add that because it wasn't much out like R-rated stuff in that movie. It was a little cussing in there. I will agree to that, but it was more of that crazy sex thing. That was, to this day, I still say that was unnecessary. They could have had like maybe them kiss for a while or something, but not like that crazy sex scene. That was one thing that was like, huh? But if you remove that, this movie was a 10 out of 10. I give it a 9 out of 10 just because of that one crazy long scene. But bro, that movie, and I'm sweating because I'm hyped talking about it, and I gotta open up a door. But I'm trying not to be loud for the other room. But yes, let me know. Were you there at that moment? Because I know some people may experience Matrix Reload a little differently. I experienced it a year before it was released with all the trailers. Because not just that trailer I shared, but all the other ones leading up to it. The excitement of my father, myself. Because my dad made a good point too. He was like, this was before we got any Superman movie or anything like that. This was before that. I remember my dad said we saw the flying scenes. He was like, if they're doing this, imagine what they can do to a Superman movie. And it was a good point. He was like, man, think of superhero movies they do with this. But yeah, we had all that. Then going to see the movie. Then the experience of the movie all the way since release till it came on DVD. In that timeline, when I was younger, it took like almost a year before movies came from theater to DVD. So it took a while. But us talking about, we saw it in theaters 3 times. Like we saw it at the Star Theater. Then there was this dollar store. Like every like Tuesday or something, there was a dollar store movie. We saw it 2 more times after that over there. Then the movie came out. We bought the movie, bro. And to this day, my father, he still says how Matrix is one of his favorite movies of all time. And I say this a lot. It's not just the movie that can make it the best of all time. It's the experience behind it. Your experience can make the movie 100 times better than it actually is or the way it's supposed to be. You know, there are some movies that a lot of people don't like that I talk about, but when I explain to them the experience, they're like, I understand. Okay, yeah, if I had that kind of experience with that kind of hype and I was looking for this kind of thing in a movie, I understand why. So what is y'all's? Let me know in the comments below. I went and talked longer than I wanted to. I'm sorry if this video's too long, but I just had some reflections, bro, and that Matrix Reloaded. The other ones after Reloaded was okay. You know, Revolutions had great moments. It wasn't nothing like Reloaded, but it did have great moments. That club scene and the scene with Neo versus Smith, that was intense. But yeah, nothing did what Reloaded did. But yeah, I gotta cool down. My body, I am sweating. Oh my goodness. But yeah. All right, but I love y'all. I'll talk to y'all later. Let me know what's y'all movie that gave you that experience. See you later.